to the 1977 World Series between the Dodgers and the Yankees, with the Yankees leading 3-2. Yankee Stadium in New York City. And to throw out the ceremonial first pitch, the roar for the Yankee Clipper, Joe DiMaggio.
There's Joe. Yankees of today still in awe of the Clipper, Keith.
As a player and as a man.
All right, give it up for the Yankees. Give it up for our guest, Matthew. Matthew McGough. How do you say your last name so I get it correct? Because I'm going to...
McGough.
Yeah. Got it.
McGough.
And it rhymes with.
See?
There
He
you
already
go.
goes there. He already goes there. How are you?
Good.
Man, it's good to, yeah, it's finally good to meet you, man.
Yeah.
I got the book. Lord knows I'm not the most well-read man on the planet. And as soon as I got it, I'm like, ooh, I'm going to read this. So I went to Europe and I
think
read
I
it.
told you that, too. I said, Danny's not much of a reader, but he's actually loving this book and reading it, which shocked me.
Believe me,
great book.
I can count on one hand how many books I've read. That's
Yeah.
one of them. So
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. And, yeah, you got to speak into that one.
Okay.
They're a little like, yeah, you're good. But, and so, yeah, so this book, obviously, I'm not no stranger to the Yankees. I think, I'm number one fan. He might be number 3.
1.5.
That's it. And,
I don't know. We may have number 1.
No,
I don't
we're
know.
going to talk. We're going to go a
That's what
little
you mean.
down the rabbit hole. We're going to find out a little bit
Not
more.
been
Right.
connected
More will
over the
be-
Yankees early on, so
Yeah.
See, that's what we were talking earlier. That's how we kind of like, that solidified the friendship right there. Was the Yankees bond.
You know, you could trust someone if you like the same teams.
Yeah. Well, we had a good. That was a good point
I
of
think
reference.
it's like shared experiences.
See.
Different players mean the same thing to you if you grow up
That's it.
around the same
Yeah.
time.
And when me and him pray, we thank the good Lord every day for making us Yankee
Yankees,
fans.
That's it. We
So
do. It's
we
true.
have that in common when we say
Did
our
they
prayers.
say that
So
prayer,
they-
Regis, or no? That's not.
Somebody's probably said some prayers for the Yankees.
There you go. So tell us how this starts. I mean, if you haven't read the book, here's the book. The book's called Bat Boy, Coming of Age with the New York Yankees. When did this come out?
2005.
Okay, cool. But this is a book. It goes back to 92, 93 seasons.
Those were the 2 years I worked for the Yankees
Right.
when I was in high school.
And it starts by you you're in high school.
Well, let me
10th
go back
grade?
a little bit.
Okay, let's
How
go.
did you get? How did you become a Yankees fan? We all have a different story.
My family was from Terrytown in Westchester,
Okay.
so kind of naturally gravitate. It's Yankee territory more than if you
Nice.
grew up in Queens or
Which is
Long
Right.
Island.
Mets
territory.
Of course.
And, the Mets won in '86 when I was 11, so it was actually
Their
it
time.
was more
Yeah.
momentum with the Mets. Mattingly was about the only positive thing going on for the Yankees
Right.
in the mid '80s, but used to go to games with my dad, and
Right.
Mattingly was my guy from a young age, as he was for almost.
Yeah, he was the savior.
Most
Donnie
people
Baseball,
our age.
the Hitman. That's why I want to know if he had the poster or not, with the 3-piece suit
Yes,
on. And
come on.
come on.
Actually, I had the little action figure.
Did you?
Yeah,
There you
like
go.
one of the few little
Starting
action. I don't know
lineups?
why. Yeah, something like. I think I
Nice.
might even still have it in the archives.
So that was it. Like you guys, teenage boys in New York, that was Don Mattingly.
It's, it's like the generation after us is Jeter, or
Sure.
if you're a Mets fan, David Wright, or if you're growing up in LA now, it's.
So you never had
Kemp
any
and
interest in
Kershaw.
the Mets, right?
No, I did. I can remember going to see Gooden pitch, and
Nice.
I was watching when they won in '86.
Oh, well, hey, thanks
or
for coming
game.
out to speak with us tonight. No, I'm just kidding. No, we're just giving you a hard time. No. Hey,
Yeah.
listen, I never had a problem with the Mets. I like the Mets. I remember as a kid, Dave Kingman and Tom Seaver. You watch WPIX or whatever, switch back over
Yeah.
to watch the games. But it seems nowadays people are they're like, we have a friend, no names, you know what I mean? And you can drop it. But,
you can find him at the Tam O'Shannon.
yeah, he can be found there. But like, you think it's like a gang rivalry or something. They're like disgruntled.
More than it used to be.
100 million light years.
Why is that?
I'm gonna ask the expert.
I don't
You
know,
tell me.
there was no interleague, obviously, for
Oh,
a
of
really
course.
long time, so it was kind of pent up, and
But I don't
it
know
was
if that
like
would
something
even-
you could only argue about, but not.
Yeah, but you really don't even see much in an interleague game in the sense that it's still. I think I don't know what it is. I think the new generations are more territorial and aggressive that way.
I think Mets fans are very defensive too.
They are. They're a little bitter.
Yeah.
Just a little bit,
They
right?
log on to jelly.com.
I mean,
very
unfortunately,
often.
I'm a Jets
tough being
fan,
a
so
Mets fan these
I
days.
understand that, you know.
That was the other thing we had in common. We're one of the few guys that are Yankee fans and Jets, because it's always Yankees and Giants.
That's how it goes.
And
yeah.
then Rangers.
Yeah.
And then what? Knicks.
So tribal.
Yeah.
And then it's Nets, Mets, Jets, and
the
Islanders.
Islanders.
Is it because
Yeah.
they all rhyme?
No, but it's because of the area.
Yeah, kind of where the stadiums
And then
are.
Connecticut is
and-
split. You got a Connecticut fan base of like a lot of Yankees. I
and
just
then if
seen
you go
the.
too far,
It's
it's
a lot
turns
of
Red
Red
Sox.
Sox, of course.
Yeah.
And so it's split.
That's like a Mason Dixon lineup.
It
there.
is, but there's apparently there's more Yankee fans than there are Red Sox fans up there, and we have lots of friends that are Red Sox fans. I got people that are considered family. That's what makes it cool.
And
So you-
probably if we weren't Yankees fans, we would be Red Sox fans. I'd rather
Speak
be a
for
Red
yourself,
Sox
man.
fan.
I'm
I think
kidding.
I think
Mets
somebody
fan.
told me I think baseball is kind of like a family. If you're a real baseball fan, I mean
Right.
it's like it's an intergenerational thing.
Well, that-
it's like a
you-
connection.
that's what it is for
with
me.
people and with the game, and so whatever team
And the
you're
stadium
into.
itself, like how I became a Yankees fan was my old man's is a Mets fan. He's probably watching right now. But my first game was with my grandfather, which in the 70s, I go before Mattingly. My guy was the guy we showed on the clip before was Thurman Munson.
Yeah, that's my guy, bro.
That mid 70s, late 70s with the the orange
Fu
chest
Manchu,
plate,
yeah, no doubt.
blue
The
collar
only guy
Yankees.
with the facial hair that was allowed, the captain could only do it.
Captain.
Yeah. But going up to
Yeah.
Yankee Stadium in the 70s and just seeing cars on blocks, hookers walking past the jails, people are going bananas. I mean, the streets were on fire, literally.
The Bronx Zoo back
Yeah.
then. He knows. You
And they
know.
saw-
I mean, we ain't saying
so when I
nothing
saw
new.
that, the crime thing, the Bronx, and the Yankees for the first time, I was like, oh,
Later
it's
for the
all
Mets,
in.
right? And that's from a Queens kid, so
Yeah, I mean, there's
Later for
nothing
them.
around Shea Stadium, man. It's a wasteland.
Why Munson and not Reggie Guidry? I mean, there's so
You know
many
why?
other guys on those
He
teams.
was blue collar. He looked like
He looked like Archie Bunker's son. That's why he liked him.
Yeah.
he looked like Meathead.
Yeah, looked like the guy down the block.
But
at
him
the
and
bar,
for me,
you know?
him and Reggie were the Yankees. I mean, just the candy bar alone and the Reggie. I mean, I had the plastic hat that they give for free with the Delwood milk sponsor. Someone crushed my Reggie one.
Oh, yeah, that
I
was a
know
good
his
one.
name. I'm still looking for this kid. I won't say it on air because somebody else might know it. They know
They
I'm
might
looking
touch him
for
up.
him. But I'm still looking. It's been like
It's terrible.
35 years. He's still on my list of
I don't
like.
blame you.
I got a to-do list. You know, if I had 24 hours to live, that name is on there, man. He crashed my Yankees helmet.
Remember dudes would just walk around with the helmet on, though?
I
in the
still
streets?
would. I was going to order one. I sent you a picture. So a little bit of Mets, but you're a Yankees guy. So
Yeah, always a Yankees guy. I mean, Reggie, Winfield, Mattingly.
Sure.
Billy Martin is the manager. Rizzuto calling the games on TV.
Of course.
Steinbrenner was a villain. At the time, the way he was
He was a
written
tyrant,
about, portrayed
right?
in the
Yeah.
media, firing guys and getting on the players. Mattingly with shaving the sideburns and all that. Just,
Right.
I mean, it was an exciting time to be a fan.
Right. And when you came on, so I read in the book you were talking about the pine tar incident.
Yeah, that was one of the first, maybe the first game I ever went to.
And so tell people what that is, because a lot of people, obviously do you know what the pine tar incident is?
From his book. But
Oh, but
no,
did you
but
know
yeah,
prior?
tell us about- no, I didn't. So.
Okay, so
yeah,
prior to
so
that,
it was July 24, 83.
but who's counting?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're playing the Kansas City Royals,
Yeah.
and George Brett is he's a Hall of Fame player and the Royal star. And I think before the game, Billy Martin, former Yankee player and kind of notorious character,
Sure.
running
Ronkin's
mate of Mickey Mantle and Whitey Ford and those guys, noticed that Brett's he had too much pine tar in his bat. It's like a sticky substance they put for the
For the
batter
grip,
to get a
yep.
grip. And the rule is you can only have 18 inches from the handle of the bat or from the knob of the bat, and that's the same width as home plate. So Martin noticed that, but it wasn't until he waited till after Brett hit a home run.
Was it the ninth inning? Was it?
I think it was the eighth or the ninth.
Eighth or ninth, yeah,
And
but
I
it
was-
changed the game. I mean, that home run.
And I was me, my dad, and my brother in the upper deck, and there was maybe a fan with a transistor radio, but
Oh, yeah, up to the ear, the old man guys doing that?
yeah,
Remember that?
but we didn't know what was going on in the stadium
Right,
because
'cause you don't get
Brett
the
hits his home
broadcast.
run, gives the Royals the lead, then Billy Martin comes out, talks to the umpire, and then the umpire throws Brett out of the game, and Brett went ballistic.
You
can
can't storm
get
him
that
out.
video.
No, I was watching. I know.
Yeah, he burst out of the dugout and took
Full
like
sprint.
6 guys to hold him back.
Right.
And we're in
And
the stands like, what's going on?
what's going on? And the next morning, I remember my parents showed me the newspaper. It had a picture, And it's like the first time I understood that what happens today is in the newspaper tomorrow.
Yeah,
Oh,
no
that's
doubt.
cool.
Yeah.
I didn't read that.
I love when they have Pine Tar Day at the stadium over there at Royals, and did you see that? They have the shirts with like pine tar spread across it. So he's kind of embraced it and owned it. You know, that's like his thing.
Yeah,
Brett.
I think it was like just the 30th anniversary of that.
Was it?
Yeah,
Right,
and
right.
there was a the Yankee bat boy, like Brett told him to get rid of the bat. I wish I'd reviewed the story to know it, but there was one of the bat boys played a key role in that incident. Like Brett told him to get rid of the bat. He brought it to the umpire instead, and the rest is history.
Hope he got a big
He
tip.
said,
for
"Yo, did
getting
that
rid of
shit, son."
So you seen that, and then it clicks in your
Well,
head. Like,
I was 8 years old when that game happened. So a couple of years pass. I went to high school in Manhattan, so
Right.
I would take the train into school
and
every
let's talk
day.
real quick about that. That's a special school because even people online were like, "Yeah, I know about that school."
Yeah, it's an amazing school. It's the best school.
What's the school?
I went to Regis High School. It's a Jesuit all boys school, but it
Right.
draws kids from all over New York City. So for me, it was just going into the city and meeting kids from all over the 5 boroughs.
Right. And it's a scholarship. You go and you
That's
have
right.
to keep your grades high.
That's right.
For smart people is what I'm getting at.
They would
I
have.
had some smart
Yeah.
They
classmates.
had nothing to
good,
do
good.
with us.
Speak for yourself.
There you go.
Yeah, she
But
is.
we'll hear more stories in a minute. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Matt McGough.
It's up to you not to heed the caller.
Here's the Yankees starting lineup. Mickey Rivers, center field. He's 4 for 23 in the series. Steady going Willie Randolph is 4 for 21. Thurman Munson comes into the series like Garvey with 7 hits out of 21 turns at bat. Reggie Jackson having a good series, 6 of 17. Chris Chambliss, well, he hasn't had that good a series, but still he's 5 for 20. And Greg Nettles, 4 for 17. He's been struggling. Lou Piniella has been a consistent hitter, 6 of 19. And Bucky Dent has surprised at the plate, really, with 5 for 17. Pitcher, of course, is Mike Torres, hurt by the error in the fastball in the first inning that led to 2 Dodger runs.
Yeah, that's the '77 World
Love
Champs
that
right there.
broadcast.
It's the old
Now,
Yankee Stadium.
When I sent that footage to my man Brooks behind in the sound booth, he's a devout Dodgers fan. He was mother effing me up and down. That was a tough year for you guys, huh? And the year after that, and the year after that. And the reason why we play that because you didn't work that era. Obviously, you're not, but that era for me, and I'm assuming for you, were right after that. And I know
That was
for
the
you, were the
foundation,
same.
yeah.
That's my first. I didn't know who Mickey Mantle was prior to that. I didn't know who DiMaggio or Babe Ruth. Those are names that maybe I've heard, but I didn't. These were the names. These were the in the 70s, early 80s. Those were the names that were popping. Those were our heroes. Those were our guys. We were saying in the thing. My first memory was the Hank Aaron card. Everybody would circle around you and be like, when you open your pack, let me see you got Hank Aaron in there. I'm like, Hank who? I didn't know who that was. And like, I didn't have a dad. He wasn't doing nothing for me like that. I didn't know how to play baseball. I didn't know if you had to tag up, if you wanted to lead off. I didn't know, Like,
You should see him though in wiffle now. He's pretty good.
I'm nice. I'm a big boy. I hit anything that's,
That's it. He could even hit the
tomahawk
slider,
chops. Don't matter to me. But baseball's my thing. But so you went to a nice school. Why it's a stretch for me, you're but when I'm in 10th grade, I can't even figure out how to get a pop top open off a beer bottle, and you're writing letters to the Yankees looking for work.
It's a bit of a I mean, it's hard to go back and think what I was thinking at the time, but I know that if I talked to people about it, or
Right.
they would have,
Springs
they
in
could have
memory.
talked.
Because it's like some
they
Santa
could have
Claus
talked me
stuff.
out of
I mean,
it.
yeah, I sent a letter to Santa Claus looking for a BMX bike.
Yeah,
never
I think
came, but
I was too naive.
Can we show some of those letters real quick? You got to, and these are, you hand wrote the letters? No typing? Just said, I'm going for it.
Well, you guys invited me on, and I went digging in
Yeah,
the
you
crates.
went and
That's
dug
nice.
into the
So these are
archives.
the
You're
original
pretty
ones.
good.
So some of
People
these have never been published before, but
So-
they're all
No, that's
they're all
not
authentic.
it. It's a handwritten letter.
So people that haven't read the book, how did you get the job?
Yeah, so I was in I was in 10th grade, and I was old enough by then to go up to Yankee Stadium and watch games by myself. And usually I'd go with friends from school.
Right.
And one of these games, late in the '91 season, I noticed the bat boy on the field. I'd been to games before, but I never saw him. You know?
Yeah, of course.
Like
You
I
don't
looked,
see him
I looked
until you see
past
him. Yeah, of course.
And this kid was playing catch with the right fielder and just wasn't playing catch well. And I played Little League. I probably wasn't good enough to play baseball for my high school team, but I knew I could play catch. And the season was ending, and I just thought, how does that kid have that job and
Right.
how can I get that job?
That's awesome.
And I didn't know any better other
Nobody
than
told you that you couldn't get that job, so you
yeah,
were
I
like,
I
why
tore the
not?
page out of the program that had all the Yankee executives, and I started writing letters, and then I didn't hear back for any of those letters, which I thought was not even rude, but just weird. Like,
Why didn't they write me back?
yeah, naturally they have to
Of course.
write me back,
Right.
and so then I telephoned, and I got an operator.
I mean, like,
switchboard
hold on.
operator.
You just kind of
Cold
say
called
that,
it.
yeah. But
Cold-
that's a huge deal for a kid.
I don't think I knew
mean,
any better.
I mean, if I didn't get a letter back, I'd just be like, whatever, go Mets, you know. It wouldn't be. I don't know if I would pursue it. But I mean, I'm giving you props in the sense
Thank
that like
you.
that's the extra mile. That's the if you didn't call, we wouldn't be here right now talking about that.
Yeah.
So that call to me is that weird little like
No,
in people's lives where there's a fork in the road and you can go with all the other kids and just go.
It
you
changed
know,
my whole life.
Or you could actually pick up a phone and be like, I'm going to be proactive and find out why they didn't answer my letter.
I don't even know that
Damn.
I was thinking about being proactive as much as
I
just
don't know,
wanting
that's what I'm saying,
to,
but you just wanted the gig
Yeah.
and you were going for it.
and wanted to know,
those little
is there an
hurdles in
application?
life usually stop.
How does this happen? Who are these kids who are hired?
Bro, my hat's
And
off.
so-
I can't take it off, but it's off.
What happened when you called?
She said, I said, this is Matthew McGough. I sent a letter inquiring about a bat boy position, and she said, I'll have someone get back to you. And then I hung up, and I realized she didn't take my number, address, or anything. So I waited another week or two, and then called again, and the same lady answered the phone, and she laughed. She
recognized
thought it was funny,
Right.
and I didn't. I was just trying to be all business, or what I
Professional,
imagined
sure.
all. Yeah, exactly.
How old were you?
16.
16.
And this time she said, I'll have somebody get back to you. And then a couple days after that, I got a letter from Brian Cashman, who at that point was like a intern. I mean,
Wow. Young Brian Cashman. He's young now. He's younger than me. I'm 45.
his duties
so-
included responding to letters sent by aspiring bat boys. That's like what his responsibilities included at the time. Now he is the general manager and multiple World Series rings. But that's who wrote me back. And I went in for an interview with the clubhouse manager, a guy named Nick Priori.
Nick.
He's like a vinegary.
Like a
just worked for the
70s guy with
Yankees
the
forever.
stogie.
No one
real
really knew how
knock-around
old
guy.
Nick was. Like, he could have been anywhere between like 45 and 75. I mean, he didn't.
Like a true
And
New
he
York
stayed at the
produced an
stadium,
ID.
right? Is that the guy that I read in
He
the book?
stayed overnight in the stadium
Yeah.
almost
Which
every
that
night.
was one of the things that when I read through this, I was shocked and excited at the same time. I was like, this is like summer camp, dude. Like, you guys are working the games and you're sleeping over at Yankee Stadium.
It was a whole world, you know,
Like
and
a
I'm
whole
sure it's
other
different.
planet.
I'm sure it's different now,
Of
but I'm
course.
sure it was also different 20 years before I was there.
I bet.
You know,
But you got the last, I think, just blindly guessing that you caught the last era of that carefree stadium life type of where now I'm sure there's like high
Yeah,
security,
security.
Yeah.
bar scans and detectors and motion sensors and cameras and it just don't, I don't know.
and they
if that
don't
would be as-
hire high school kids now. If you want to be a bat boy, it's like it tends to be college age kids.
Hey.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
'Cause,
I'm
like,
You got a
here.
chance,
They're
man.
more
Hey, I'm
responsible.
here.
You don't have to worry about them missing school.
Wow.
if
Or drinking
it's-
beers in the
or drinking
clubhouse.
beers.
Yeah, he was
It's-
doing
That was
I
great,
heard
yeah.
about that.
So
Listen, I know we got a caller who happens to be your friend. I know he's on the East Coast, and I want to get him. Oh, he hung up. Well, see,
Oh,
he wasn't waiting that long.
You ran out
well,
of
maybe
change.
he'll call back. I didn't want to keep him on hold too long, but I also wanted,
Yeah.
get the story to progress. So
So Nick, I go in for the interview. Nick tells me come back opening day. So I go home and tell my parents I think I got the job, but I didn't even really know for sure until opening day.
Right.
And I wrote these letters to, I didn't hear anything from the team for a long time. So I wrote back to Brian Cashman
Right.
and asked him what I could do to prepare for the new season. And I wrote to Nick Priori in spring training and said the same thing. And they told me later that they were going to just send me a shoe shine rack.
And they told him, hey, get your shine box.
Get the bat stretcher.
right.
So yeah, my first day I walked in and it was a dream for a couple of years.
Right. Tell us the story. You said something about the bat stretcher. I read that first.
What happened on your first day?
Yeah, I walked in. Like I said, Mattingly was the guy. I mean,
was a
and
god
he's
in New
towards
York.
the end
I mean,
of
come
his
on, I mean,
towards the end of his career at that point, 92.
Right.
Like he had injuries, but he was the captain of the team and just the guy who everyone looked up to, and just the rock of those teams.
yeah, no.
Yeah.
So walk in, I see him. Mayor Dinkins was the mayor of New York at that point. I'd never seen a mayor
In person.
in
sure.
person so up close, and it's just crowded with media and everything like that. So I'm kind of I go find Nick and say, Nick, I'm Matt, the Bat Boy. What do you want me to do? And he curses me out, tells me to stay out of his way. So kind of walk away and
Welcome.
see. Yeah, he didn't say welcome. And I'm just kind of walking around, and I feel a tap on my shoulder, and it's Mattingly. And he says, "How's it going? I'm Don Mattingly." Which is like,
Of course.
I'm Jesus
I
Christ.
know who you are.
Oh,
Yeah.
Frank Sinatra,
And he was
yeah.
like plastered all over your walls, right?
As a
Like,
kid, yeah, posters, and he was the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Could have recited all the stats and everything. And he said, "Are you going to be working with us this year?" That's how he put it, which again was just a really amazing way to put it that I hadn't
Right.
thought about it at all.
He accepted you on the team.
Just the way he asked that question
Yeah, I mean,
just
just
made
that
me
just
feel as
feel
if
like you're
wow,
home.
like I'm like
You're not just some hired.
I'm helping you
clown.
guys. I'm not. Yeah, I mean, it was just a thing. And then the next thing he said was, I just unpacked all my bats from Florida, spring training, and they're all a little short. So I need you to find me a bat stretcher. So I said, okay, Mr. Mattingly. And I went and found Nick and told him. And again, words I'd never heard before threw him at me, like worse than.
You can curse
We
on
can
here,
start
so
at
you
her.
can say whatever you want.
My kids may watch this.
Oh,
Yeah,
tomorrow,
no, yeah, we
so
don't want to work too blue. Believe that.
People
for
can
Mickey.
they can use their imaginations
Imaginations,
for
right,
Nick
sure.
Priori. So I found I asked Nick's assistant, Madeline needs a bat stretcher.
And they're all looking at you with straight face, no problem? Like, they're going with it, right?
Yeah, he says, sure, no problem. I saw Danny Tartable using it. You should go ask him. So Tartable's the right fielder. He's like getting dressed in his locker, and I'm wearing like a necktie and a blue blazer, like what I wore to my confirmation, I think. type of
One
thing.
tie, right?
Big
Yeah,
day.
yeah. And, Mr. Tartable, I'm Matt, I'm the new bat boy. I need a bat stretcher for Don Mattingly, and I heard that you were using it. And he said, yeah, I left it in the manager's office. Just check in there. So Buck Showalter was the manager,
Right.
and he was having like a little press conference, and I stood there kind of on the side, and eventually people stopped and kind of looked.
Like, what do you need?
Yeah, who's
yeah,
the
yeah.
16-year-old kid in the Easter blazer in the middle of the manager's office on opening day, right before, a couple hours before first pitch. And so I told Showalter, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm looking for a bat stretcher for Don Mattingly. And he said, do you need a right-handed one or a left-handed one?
What a great line.
And come on, that's an easy question to answer because Mattingly's a lefty, obviously.
Right.
Everybody knows that. So I said, I need a left-handed one. And he's like, he's like looking under the table. I think we have a righty, but not a
The
lefty.
hook was firmly in.
Sent me down to the Red Sox clubhouse.
Wow.
And their equipment manager gave me $20 and told me to go buy two, that the Red Sox needed one too. And so I went up to Stan's Sporting Goods
wow.
Right across the street
River
there.
Avenue.
That's it.
And I was just about to walk in when I thought, I've never seen a bat stretcher or heard of that or what it looks like, But then I was scared because
It
What
could
if?
be
If
one
I'm
you-
wrong,
yeah.
first day.
it's the
It's your
dream is
ass,
over. How
sure.
can I go back and tell Mattingly,
You guys
come
hit
on.
up. Yeah.
So
So you went in the store?
I don't think I went in. I walked right up to it and then took a lap around Yankee Stadium and then went back inside.
Nice. So you sussed it out.
Yeah, he winked at me when I came in, and that was the start of 2
Kept
years.
the $20?
I kept the $20.
My man.
There you
Good
go.
stuff, good
That's
stuff.
it. That's
It
it.
was the Red Sox $20.
That's right. Yeah, well spent. And well earned as well. We're going to go to commercial break and we'll be right back.
One out is all they need. Any fly ball, anything. That's all they need. That's do it. That's going to do it. Torres gets it.
The Yankees win their 21st World Series. We've traced them season long for you. The ups and downs, emotional and on the playing field. The way they came from behind. to beat the Red Sox and the Birds, the way they came from behind to beat the Royals, and now this, the ultimate fulfillment for a controversial, deeply complex and sensitive man named Reggie Jackson, who burst forth with 3 home runs and became the most valuable player in the World Series. As you look at a relieved Billy Martin, knowing he's back next year, and Reggie will be back, and you're looking at Bill White down there in the clubhouse ready to take over as Commissioner Bowie Kuhn.
Yeah, that's some championship. Oops,
Nice.
I didn't even
championship
know
stuff.
what that was, except
That's
people getting knocked
1977.
over.
You saw how Reggie did that?
Yeah, he's like, get out of my way.
What happened was prior to that, they were going to pull him out of the game. He's like, nah, I'm going to stay in the game. And he said, but I'm going to put a helmet on because he knew all hell was going to break loose when they won, if they won, which they were going to win. So he put a batting helmet on, came out, and at the last catch, he was like, I got to make it from outfield into the dugout. Now,
Otherwise,
back
he'll be
then,
trapped.
unlike today, you couldn't go on the field. You get arrested for going on the field, but they didn't care back then. So in '77,
Too many people
that's
to
what
arrest.
happened. Yeah, they can't. So just hundreds of people, and they all want a piece of their star player,
Or the grass
Reggie
or
Jackson.
the-
So
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen photos when they first redid it in '73 at Yankee Stadium. They let fans come and take whatever they wanted. You could take seats, you could take signage, you could take whatever you wanted from that heap.
Yeah.
And there's famous photos of people walking off with chairs and whatever
Like,
they
"Good,
wanted.
do
They
us a
didn't
favor,
know.
get rid of this."
Yeah, they didn't know that. There was no Steiner, selling
Steiner
anything that was
Sports,
stand
business
still.
now. Yeah.
That being said, that's what happened with that. When I sent it to Brooks, he was all mortified because he's a Dodger fan, and I hear you might be a potential Dodger fan or even a Dodger fan, but
It's a different league.
it is a different league. It is a different
It's
league, and you
Brooklyn
live in this,
roots. My dad was a Brooklyn Dodger fan
Yeah,
as a
there you
kid.
go.
And we all live in LA now.
Mattingly's manager of the Dodgers,
Ah.
obviously.
Joe Torre
so-
before that.
Joe Torre before that. The Godfather.
Don't get cues from this guy.
He knows. He knows.
I know too.
But I'm still a Yankee guy, and will be forever.
Just checking, man. Just want to make sure the
Yeah.
water's still warm. That's
Well,
all.
what's the alternative? Angels? No.
Oh, that's horrible. But listen, so you're sleeping over. Tell me about some sleepovers at Yankee Stadium. Like, how is that possible? Like, you're going to school. You're still in high school. You're taking the train in after work, or before.
I would go in the morning to school, and then up to the Bronx right after school.
So at
3:30.
3:00, you get the train?
Just take the
Metro
subway.
North.
I would take Metro North in the morning, but
Right.
the 4 train from Regis, it was on
Okay.
the Upper East Side and right up to the Bronx, and we had to be there around 3:34. Batting practice started around then, and then we'd work, late after the games. We'd have to do all the laundry, shine all the players' cleats, usually 2 pairs of cleats per player, so
Right.
48 pairs of shoes a night, vacuum, take the trash out, get the clubhouse ready for the next day.
Right.
Again, I think now they have professional cleaners and stuff,
Oh,
but
I'm
back
sure.
then that was us.
That was you guys. So you said, and you were like, yeah, I'm staying over. And
For weekend games, we would do it if
where would you sleep?
on the couches in the players' lounge.
Get out.
That's
Yeah.
so cool.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
You had the run of the stadium.
Yeah.
So you guys, give me some.
We'd
give me
finish
some
our work.
stories.
We'd finish our work usually around midnight when the laundry comes out.
Right.
Put it in everybody's locker, and then Nick didn't care. He would sleep in Showalter's office, and we'd go out on the field. All the lights would be lit, and it was the sweepers. The people who would clean the stadium, and we could do whatever we wanted for those
the
hours.
run of the
Then
stadium. I mean,
I
you
heard
had-
you guys would go to the local bodega too there and get a couple of tall boys.
There
The
were
other
tall
guys-
boys
the other
in
guys might have,
in
right?
the clubhouse. I mean,
Yeah.
You had
it was
it,
a
yeah,
grown-up
refrigerators.
place.
Right.
There were
So there's
limits to
adult-
the kind of hijinks we could get into, obviously, because none of us wanted to be shown the door.
Of course.
But
when you're a
we
kid.
were kids, so it did have a Lord of the Flies element to it.
I
Some of
bet.
those
I
You
mean,
late-
guys, you guys are
late-
playing
I was
AC/DC,
salivating.
right? You guys are gambling.
Yeah, shoot,
eye-opening
pitching pennies.
experiences for a kid from the suburbs.
I mean, I was reading it on my flight, man, and I'm thinking, God, I chose the wrong path here, guys. The Bat Boy thing.
Wow.
I mean, I would have never wrote a letter in the first place, and if I didn't get the response, I guarantee you I wouldn't have called. That the weeding out process, like I said, it seems like it's the right the next indicated step. They're not replying. I'm going to call. But as a kid, that was like rocket science. It still is. It's like rocket appliances.
And the
to
other
me. I
kids,
mean,
they didn't even have to do that. Most of the kids had a connection, right? It was
Yeah,
like
most of
Yeah,
like
but
family and
not
stuff
a
like-
connection like
like a
lot
hookup.
of money necessarily, or their dad being somebody important. More likely, like their dad was the caterer, like the Red
Right,
Sauce
'cause you had
Italian
another guy
place
who
that did the post game
right,
spread.
right.
And
See, and I'm glad you brought that up because this is a weird one as well. As a Yankees fan, as a kid, I was always a Pete Rose fan first. Go figure. And his son was the bat boy, and there was a famous Donruss card with Pete, and it was him and his dad with the both jerseys on. They were playing for the Phillies at the time. And I was like, oh, that's how a bat boy. And Manny Mota, I think his son or somebody from his family in the Dodgers back then was a bat. So I always thought it was nepotism that like your dad was a player or was an exec at the club, and it was like, yeah, give my boy, because that would seem like the most.
Yeah, there's all different ways kids get the jobs. I mean, it usually comes down to just a lucky break. Or being friends with, the bat boy and
of course.
kids leave
And I would
go
expect
to
that.
college.
That's fine.
And
Yeah,
then
no, of course.
It's just
because your brother, you got your brother in there after you.
When I left for college, he
good man,
he
good
took my
man.
spot.
That's my man right
Now,
there.
what were the other kids like? What were their backgrounds? Were they like knock around kids or preppy? Like explain like the whole relationship. How you? Because there's a whole casting. There's a whole cast.
Yeah, so it was like there were six bat boys, 3 in the home clubhouse, which is where I was, and 3 in the visiting clubhouse.
Now,
and there's different perks.
That's weird in itself, because if I would have wrote that letter and then made that call and then got that job, and then you're like, you're in the visitor for Seattle tonight. I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
Nah.
And you got to wear the
Yankees.
visitor clothes.
Yeah, you wear
nah.
major league teams travel with bat boy uniforms in every size because you don't know
I know. I
whether
read that
the
in your
kids are
book.
gonna.
But what I'm saying is, nah. I'm riding that train back in.
Yeah.
Nah.
But you got to meet all the other teams. I mean.
So you did both sides?
No, I only worked on the home side. But the advantage
That's
for
what
the
I'm
visitor
saying.
side is you got to work with. Everybody came through.
Yeah, I hear you on that.
And get the autographs from all those guys.
Get the autographs from all those guys.
And tips.
Yeah, but could you get the autographs? I mean, from all those guys? I mean.
Yeah, but it
pain
was
in the
harder.
ass.
It was
Yeah.
harder.
You get
'Cause
caught
you
out
don't
there.
They don't have the familiarity with you.
Yeah, and you're bothering them in their moment. They might be in a headspace where they're like, and you're like, yeah, excuse me, can I get your autograph? And like, really, bro? You work here. I expect that from like when I got to get out of here.
It's easy for them
you're
to
in-house and you're running it
turn
like
you
that?
down on the visiting side.
Oh, I bet.
Well, speaking of that, one of the things
That's what
I
I'm
found,
saying. Nah.
one of the things I found interesting was the whole thing with the whole forgeries and the whole hustle of the baseball thing. And tell us about that. I mean, a lot of people aren't privy to that. Little scandalous.
Yeah, it's a
but
little
it was common
scandalous,
practice
I guess.
back
But
then, yeah.
I mean, personally, I wouldn't pay for very many autographs.
No,
I
unless
mean,
you've seen
it's
it. I wouldn't either.
If it's not
But that's it.
authentic.
But
Listen,
it's,
hold on.
it's
That's
big business,
and it's always
bigger
been,
business now than
of
it
course.
was.
But no one thinks of the
Back
Bat
then,
Boys,
but-
perfecting.
Oh, everybody
There's
does.
guys
I don't
who
think
have-
that's true. As long as there's been sports autographs, there's been people in the back. As long as there's been presidents, there's been secretaries signing Gerald
It
Ford.
never
This-
occurred to me.
Never.
It never occurred
No,
to
me
me until
either.
I read it.
Oh well, for me,
All
I'm just
my
saying
little
it's a
baseball
known
autographs.
thing. And
Oh, yeah,
being
but
like my mother used to
unauthorized.
sign Danny Boy ones on House of Pain photos because I was never around to sign them. So I used to show people just show me. Oh, I got this from my friend when in 80 or 92. I'm like, I didn't sign that, bro. I don't know who signed that
Yeah.
for you, but I'll give you another one. But
I
it was
write about it
unauthorized.
with a little bit more context in the book, but there are clubbies over time
Oh, all day long.
who can do a whole
All
team
day
ball.
long.
Which
Of
ones
course.
can you
Over.
still do?
I haven't done it in a really
Come
long
on.
time.
yeah, I mean, you wouldn't want to. It's not like official. Like when you're younger,
I've
you do that
retired
kind
from
of.
that.
And there is a
Parlor
backstory.
trick.
There is a backstory to all that. We could.
Yeah,
talk about
I mean,
that as
to
well,
put it
but-
in context, I mean, again, I was a kid, and it's part of the culture of
Of
the
course.
place and things. That
Let's
you
talk
see
about
when
the
you're a
golden
kid
era
and-
before we go into the CDs
underbelly.
and the underbelly. He just wanted,
We like the underworld.
being the guy that he is, he wants to figure where
Well,
the
you know what? I
crime
think
in
we
the
have a
story
caller,
is.
too.
Do we have another caller?
John Z's on the phone.
John Z, you on line one, buddy?
Yeah, no problem.
What's
So-
up?
Hey, John.
How's it going?
Good.
You got a question? You got a question for us?
I do. I'm glad you guys brought up the nepotism angle. I wanted to ask, in regards to his letter that he sent in and following up with the phone calls, in his opinion, what did he think stood out from that letter that actually got him that call back after, calling a couple times? Or, was it something in that letter that he put that, stood out in his mind?
I don't know that I've ever talked to I never tracked down who the secretary was that day or really, questioned what it was. In hindsight, it seems like a miracle. I don't know how many other letters they got, and I don't think there was anything special about the letter, except that it was like very earnest. Like I basically just put it out there. You know, I don't know how you can apply for this job, but I'm a hard worker and a good big Yankees fan, and you know, give me a shot.
Sincerity, yeah.
Yeah.
Sincerity and a lot of luck.
And I think Yankee Stadium didn't even have an address, right? Was it just Yankee Stadium, 161 in River?
104 New York, yeah, Bronx, New York, 10451.
That's why I always love that. It's like, hey, we don't need an address. Just put Yankee Stadium, it
course.
gets there. That's a beautiful thing.
Hey, did you see the Yankees pinstripe Toyota? Did they still have that in the '90s? I don't remember when they did
no
away with
bullpen
that.
car.
But,
Yeah.
when I was a kid, that was always my favorite from the bullpen.
Yeah.
They would
What
drive
happened
out
to
to
bullpen
like right
cars?
by
Yeah.
second base.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
I was looking for a picture of that. It's hard to find.
eBay. John, I appreciate you calling as always, man. We'll talk to you soon.
All good. I'm going to finish off that Reggie bar. We'll talk to you guys soon. Take
All
it
right,
easy.
buddy. Cheers.
Cool.
That's our old school homeboy too, man.
Cool. So we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to hear all about the underbelly.
We're gonna hear about the network.
Yeah, and we have another caller too, so we'll be right back.
Weren't nearly so exciting at Yankee Stadium in '92, but come this season there'll be lots of changes. George Steinbrenner's back, and maybe the Yankees will be too. In a busy offseason, they acquired pitchers Jimmy Key and Jim Abbott, shortstop Spike Owen, third baseman Wade Boggs, and outfielder Paul O'Neill, all of which figures to make a big difference.
I think the Yankees are the most improved team in the division, and I really think they're going to contend right until the end. I see Toronto repeating in the AL East, and I see their biggest challenge coming from the Yankees, hard as that may be for some people to believe.
Yeah, Yankees rule.
The big red stash.
That's it. That stash, though, huh? You was feeling that stash back there. So that's your era, right?
That's it.
Is that '93?
That latest one was '93.
So that was your last
That was
season
my
there.
second year.
Okay. So
Yeah.
is it protocol that, or is that how they do it? 2 years is about the lifespan.
That was the limit, because then
16 to 18.
your ego gets too big.
Right. So
Too much
when
time hanging out with the ball
Yeah, tell
players.
us about that.
and
So let's
you
hear some.
mistakenly
let's-
believe you're becoming
one
one,
of
and
them.
then
Right.
Yeah, how was it
Nick
at
is
school?
like-
Talking about ego. I mean, how was that? You know, you go back to school, you got the job, you're on TV. What was that experience like? Was everyone like, oh, hitting you up for tickets left and right? Were you the man?
I would get my friends tickets to games. You know,
Right.
when I had a tight group of friends, and I feel like they came along on the adventure with me. I mean, they would
Nice.
they'd come up to the stadium, and like things like when the team would fly home from road games, we'd have to meet the truck at the stadium, which could be in the middle of the night.
Right.
And the players wouldn't come there, but the truck would show up with all the gear, and my friends, hey, come up to the stadium, and same thing. We'll hang out, hit in the batting cage, and then wait for the truck to get there, and
Nice.
it's like free labor for the
Yeah, but still,
Nick was
it's a
like,
good trade-off, right?
Yeah, but that's how you.
And that can't exist anymore. I mean, I'm sure, like you said, there's got to be like
somebody's got to do
cleaning
it.
crews.
Somebody's
Yeah,
gotta
but you
do
know
it.
what? There's a service for everything nowadays. Just like you said, the cleaning crews and the
But it's
laundry people.
It's a role that's existed through all of baseball history. There'll always be those kids in the clubhouse, and it's.
But you said college kids now. I mean, at least that. I mean, I
it's
can't
a little
see
bit
like,
older, but
high school kids at midnight. I mean, it sounds like fantasy to me. I mean, if you're not a Yankees fan and you're tuning in, I'm sorry, because we're indulging ourselves. We love this stuff.
It's not
and
just Yankees, though. It's
no,
coming
I
of
understand
age.
it is, but I'm just saying that it's like it's super indulging for us, because this is like, you know what I mean? Like I'm like salivating just thinking about, like, man, that sounds like.
But how'd you even do school? I mean, Regis, a tough school. I mean, you're going straight to the
Yeah, it was
to
a
the
bit
stadium.
of a struggle. I mean, I had some academic trouble. It's the hours at the at the
Put on
school,
you,
but it's
yeah,
all
yeah.
part of growing up. And again, it was like I had to figure out a way to get it done, because I didn't want to lose the job.
Right.
And your parents would have yanked it probably, right? I'm sure it was
Yeah.
teetering at times.
Yeah, it was.
So you're doing homework in the dugout?
Doing homework during batting practice generally.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know how you held it all together. my
Yeah.
friend.
In the clubhouse,
I
but
mean-
the players understood. I mean, they knew how old we were and what we were up to, and a few of the guys, just a few of them, just really good role models. I mean,
so who would you get tight with? Like out of that squad, like who was who would you call your friend? Like you still, is there anybody you still talk to out of those people?
I'm in touch with Mattingly and Jim Abbott.
Right.
Those were two of the guys who I looked up to the most. And you say like a friend, they made me feel as if they were my friends. Right. I was 16, 17 years old. I wasn't socializing with them.
Really
they
nice.
wouldn't like invite me out, come hang out for the weekend or watch the All-Star. It was I would see them, but they would ask questions. They'd say what's going on in school, or they would tease me the way that Mattingly did with the bat stretcher, and so those were really meaningful relationships at the time.
Sure.
But it was just I never really understood before I got the job that the ball players are people. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but when you're watching the game as a kid, you see them as like superheroes or something like it never occurred to me that they have different personalities, different senses of humor, different backgrounds.
Who's the worst?
I kind of leave that out of the book, but
give us initials. Can I buy a vowel?
There were a couple guys who weren't great. Mel Hall was kind of a complicated personality, but he's in prison now.
Is he?
Yeah.
Wow.
That explains something.
People can Google it, but it's just kind of you get a sense of people's personalities and human nature. And again, I explained how Mattingly introduced himself to me, and Abbott it was the same way. And
then Matt Noakes, right? That was a great story with Matt Noakes. I mean, talk about trusting a kid. I mean, and having a relationship.
The car or the potato cannon?
Yeah, what happened
driving
there?
the car.
The potato cannon I like better. Yeah. Let's hear it. I mean, I read it, but let's hear it. So you.
The potato cannon was Matt Noakes was the Yankees catcher, and it was a clubhouse. It was a dugout conversation. He started explaining how you could build a cannon out of tennis ball cans and shoot a potato.
That's real.
With
he loves that stuff.
lighter fluid at the bottom.
Fluid at the bottom. Put it in the hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
And
Duct
so
tape.
it was like, no, come on. And he insisted that it could be done. And then he said, bring some tennis ball cans to the ballpark tomorrow early before the game. And we built one.
In Yankee Stadium.
And fired it in Yankee Stadium.
See? That's what I'm saying. At
just
center
towards the
field,
outfield.
of course.
Towards the outfield.
And that's what I'm saying. That's an era.
Part of me thought you can't now.
Yeah.
And even then, it didn't really. I mean, who was gonna stop us, Nick? Right. I mean, Nick was like providing the tape to take.
He wanted to see it just as good as.
Right. So where's Nick now? Nick was your boss at the time.
Nick was my boss at the time.
You didn't know how old he was then, so you're not sure.
No, he was really good to me. I mean, he hired me, and
when I think of him, I think of like Louis from Taxi.
Yeah.
Is that his personality? Because it reads like that in your book, and
with the stogie,
like I said, he just reminds me of a guy who's like a ball buster, but had a really good heart.
A baseball lifer.
Yeah.
I mean, Mattingly really liked Nick. Nick took him under his wing when he came up as a rookie in '83, and it was like after Mattingly retired that Nick left the Yankees because he didn't really have a protector anymore. He was getting older, and he was replaced by his assistant, a guy named Rob Kukuza, who's an excellent guy and still there with the Yankees. But Robbie's a younger guy and comfortable with computers and inventory and things like that. That Nick was kind of out of his depth with a lot of that stuff.
The new generation of cats
and new generation of players who aren't as forgiving as if he gets the size of their shoes wrong or something like that.
That's what I'm saying. I think in your era, even though the Yankees were lousy in that era, that it was still one of those like, I don't know, like it was the last generation of that like carefree baseball, like it just had that vibe.
Yeah,
where now, right after that, that's when like Nike started popping with like Jordans and the sponsors coming heavy and all this. Like it just became like a big. It's like the 40 Deuces now, it's like it's very corporate and it's run like a well-oiled machine, but it's very sterile and it's very clinical and it's very sabermetrics and core training and all these people with life coaches, and it's like, whoa, that is like, that takes all the fun for me out of sports. You know what I mean? Where you still, when I see old photos of like, you know, even way back when you see like people with beers and cigarettes in their hand, not that they were doing that, but it was still possible. You could eat a chicken dinner, you know, from Popeyes or have it brought in, where I heard that was stopped. I heard George had that stopped, like bringing
George
in
to stop that.
But there was a time when that was still cool. You could have had a bucket of chicken like you had in the Bad News Bears, where you could have had a dude, you know, that was baseball. That's what made it so, you know, appealing to, you know, everybody. Was like,
well, Mattingly was having brewskis before the game. I mean,
well, not before the game,
or after. It was
after the game, but
so
a lot of guys
think
would,
that because he
would
thought
have
he said he could have maybe played ball with him.
Mantle had some beers,
but
before
that's
some
the
games,
generation that was.
But-
Oh yeah, they could do whatever they wanted, but. I think you were at the last era of like where that was starting to get curtailed, and then they were like no more of that. And so
yeah,
I'm actually.
I think it's across all sports, but you know the Yankees.
Oh, 100%.
But
it's
I think it's
the number
society.
one. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, you know, parents nowadays, there's no way they're going to let a kid travel into New York City on the trains by himself.
I get it. That's what I'm saying.
In the morning.
Would you, if you could look back and think, if I was a child, would you let your son do it?
Yeah, without question.
You would.
Yeah.
But most parents wouldn't. But would you want to be one in today's baseball?
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
I don't know. I mean, because things changed. You
Even
know,
if
it might be
changed, it's still special. To
Hey,
the
I
kids
just
who
said
are
I
there
am
now.
saying it. I'm
That's
looking
kind of
to sign
what
up
I'm saying,
myself.
where, you know, like there's a bat boy in every dugout, but part of what I realized in working there for 2 years is like, okay, I'm 18, I'm going to college. There's not a role for me here
Anymore.
There's no
right.
Batman in the dugout.
It's like
you know?
Menudo.
That's
you
it.
gotta go.
You gotta go.
Ricky Martin, you gotta go.
Yeah.
But I write hits, but you gotta go.
It's painful because, you know, you never seen so much up close, and then right back to anonymity the next year, you know?
Now, when you get there, do they give you your own uniform?
Yeah, but we couldn't keep it. At that time, they would send them down, after the end of the year, they would send them down to the minors.
And they would use them.
Yeah.
Right. So you didn't get to keep your jersey, none of that.
And it had
Hat,
BB on the back,
spikes.
right? It said
Said
BB.
BB at the time.
Right. But
What do they use now? Nothing, right?
No,
Or-
nothing.
No.
Yeah.
Your hats you kept, of course.
I kept my cap.
The new era joints,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What else? You got cleats?
Cleats.
Pony?
Uh,
I think Pony. man.
whatever.
Pony
I don't
or
think I
Adidas?
paid for them. I mean,
No,
there
I'm not saying you
were-
ponied up for them. I'm saying they were either, what brand were they? Pony or Adidas? 100%.
Probably Pony.
I think
But
Pony.
it
I've
was
seen a photo, too.
It was the type of thing where guys had a shoe contract, and
They bless
if
you
you're
with it.
lucky to have the same shoe size
They
as
say,
somebody,
"Hey, take that."
yeah, and it was last year's model or whatever. But
hey.
come on,
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
What was that?
What else
Pride
did
of
you-
New York, right? Pony?
Yeah.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
what did they bequeath you with? Big word tonight.
The CDs.
That's
I know
nice.
Oakley
That's a
Oakley
word.
sunglasses were new
Poppin'
back
at that
then.
time.
Oh, yeah.
And
The Oakley frog skin ones?
we
Yeah.
wore, the bat boys would have different roles. Two kids would be in the dugout, one doing bats and one doing balls, and the third kid would go down the line, which is like you sit on the stool
Yeah.
down the first or third base line. And I can remember we were wearing the Oakleys, and the call came from
Yeah,
upstairs.
take
"You
those off."
Don't do that.
Yeah, well.
No
hey,
charcoal, though, right?
No, I explain to my wife a lot. I mean, when we watch, I watch every game. I still, to this day, watch every Yankee game. And I explain, like, the facial hair thing for a Yankee is it's a deal breaker.
Yeah.
Even if you're a star player, because that's how they want to keep their players clean. You tell us why.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
Because it's a
again,
classy organization,
It's
that's
an
like-
image-conscious organization, and Steinbrenner's like he's a football guy, you're a football fan.
There's an Ohio guy, right?
So it was like a football mentality into a baseball clubhouse. I mean, it's like his intensity and the will to win, and
He was.
He expected every game as a win. I mean, that was his.
yeah, he was famous. He's
He ran it like the Army. He was
boss.
General Patton.
The
of
boss.
baseball.
I love him. When we come back, I want to hear about the first time you met him and all that good stuff. You can tell us?
Yeah.
All right, buddy. I want to ask about Mickey Mantle as well. I know you got
That's
Mickey
his
Mantle
boy.
I
stuff.
want to ask about the network.
There it is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we got to get into the juicy stuff. We'll be right back.
Betsy! You don't want to be late for school again, honey. Sweetheart. Come on, my girl. Get out of bed. Come on. Pete?
Look at you, all spiffed up in your jacket. What's the occasion?
Scrabble club after school. Don't forget, honey, Nana's birthday party tonight.
What is tonight? She doesn't have many left, so promise me you won't be late.
I won't.
Can you pick up a cake on your way home? She'll like anything.
Betsy, come on. So you can forget your concert this
There it
weekend.
is.
Yeah, see? I didn't know until last minute that you had your own TV
The
show.
long lost
based
show, yeah, for about 5 minutes.
I mean,
2000,
that's 5 minutes
2004.
longer than most 99.9% of
true.
the people on the planet.
It's true.
Fantastic. What was the name of it? Clubhouse?
Clubhouse.
What year did it come out?
Fall of 2004, and they taped 11 episodes and aired 6 on CBS.
Nice.
So that was exciting.
Yeah, and they nailed it too with the blazer,
They
the
cha-
Easter.
Yeah, they got that part right.
I was telling him today.
But they
so when
changed
you,
a lot of stuff too. They again, that's Hollywood. It's like
course.
they want to mess with the story. So like they knocked my dad off. He wasn't part of it. My sister, who in real life is a high school teacher and real straight arrow.
Right.
In the show, it's like
the
oh my God,
opposite, the
just
polar
wild card.
Of course, that's Hollywood.
And they made me live on Staten Island.
What?
In the show.
Those bastards.
wow.
You,
Those are the fake
my
Yankee
brother
fans
still
out
lives
there.
in Staten
Well,
Island.
it was
so
the fake
there's that.
Yankees. It was the New
Yeah,
York
the
Empires
Empires,
because
yeah.
there was a,
Oh, yeah, you
a
couldn't-
steroid storyline in the pilot episode.
Oh,
The
wow.
bad boy
Yes.
he gets pulled over driving a player's car, and they find the steroids in the glove, which is a story that happened to a Red Sox bat boy.
And look,
That's where that came from.
We got my man from
Friday Night Lights.
and Back to the Future. That's
Christopher
the-
Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd.
He was
so
great.
you got to be excited about that. I mean,
The actors were amazing.
And the
I
kid
mean,
nailed you. I think I was telling Danny, so when you meet Matt, that kid looks like it could be, was you when you were younger. I mean, with the jacket, the hair, his mannerisms.
He's more handsome than I am, but it was, yeah.
And then there was a little controversy, like you said. MLB wasn't the Yankees. They made them take the pinstripes, I guess.
Yeah, there were. I wasn't privy to those negotiations. I wonder if I had been, if I could have.
Yeah,
yeah,
the rails.
it's a
Smooth
tough,
things
it's a tough
over,
one though. I
but-
mean, that's how all those contracts are signed like that. I mean, we worked. I do graphic arts and stuff like that. I worked on somebody's thing where they were a Dodger actually. We weren't allowed to use the Dodger blue.
Yeah.
In conjunction with a number, or the number in conjunction with LA. There was like a triangle, and you couldn't use two of the three. So if you used his number, then they had to be on a white shirt, not a blue shirt. If you used that blue, then you couldn't add a number or the LA. They didn't want you to associate that with. You didn't have the right
This
to
is
go
how the
sell
world
that
is now,
on
you know?
you. Yeah, well, you didn't have the right to go.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, they
so
had
the
that locked down.
uniforms in the show
Or
couldn't look
They
like
changed
Yankees.
the New
Yeah, it
York.
couldn't look
Well, they
any-
filmed the pilot. They had pinstripes, and they had to take them out digitally
Yeah.
before they aired it on TV.
Oh, wow.
And they filmed it at Dodger Stadium too.
They did.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Hollywood, baby.
Yeah.
Did you have any cameos in it? And I didn't see you in there.
I don't know if I had any screen time. There was like a scene in the clubhouse, I think, where I was like had a notepad, as a
Playing the
reporter
journo.
You were
around.
like Nick. You should have
around,
been the
I
Nick.
saw a couple of NYPD caps in the crowd. That was good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, it was fun while it lasted. A little surreal too.
Again, a dream come true twice. I mean,
That was a dream that I didn't, I didn't bargain for it to be a TV show. I would just set out to write the book and tell the story honestly, the way that it happened. And, for me, that was always kind of the goal, writing books and telling the truth, being honest about whatever I'm writing about. So, yeah, it was. But again, I mean, it all goes back to that first letter that I wrote. And
I just sent Cashman an email now. See if I can get the same return.
I wonder if he'd remember
I'll do
me.
the Batman.
Well, after
friend
the
cuts
book
his
came
hair
out,
when he
the
comes out here,
Yankees
so-
now, if you're a bat boy, you have to sign a non-disclosure agreement. You can't write.
So you
a book.
shut it down.
Yeah.
And how much did you make? I mean, just straight salary.
We have a caller.
$35 a game.
That's got rich doing that then, huh?
Long hours though.
Stingy Steinbrenner.
But,
Yeah.
When you're a kid.
He was with
Hey,
it.
listen,
Yeah.
we got a caller. Who do we got on the air? Caller, you're live.
Hello?
Hey,
Yeah,
Hey, what's
you're
going on?
live, buddy.
Yeah, what's up?
who's this?
Who is it?
Sean Hurley.
All right, you're on the air, buddy. You just text me. You want to talk? Let's talk.
You got a question for Matt, Sean?
Yo, absolutely. Matt. So,
Hey, Sean.
Steve Howe. Tell me a story about him.
Steve Howe, he's like he's not with us anymore, but he was started with the Dodgers, Rookie of the Year, I think, with the Dodgers, and had a lot of drug suspensions, like, 6 or 7, I think. So it was at the tail end of his career, but he was with the Yankees. He was a good guy, real high energy.
That explains some.
Yeah, I mean, if you see interviews, I mean, he was a closer, would come in at the end of games.
Right.
He was a good guy in the clubhouse. He's one of the people who I never really, bonded with, connected with, but he was cool. The bullpen guys.
Yeah, I know my Yankees, so.
Yeah, I mean, they spent a lot of.
Winfield, you just missed Winfield, right?
Winfield was he was playing for the Twins when I was there. So.
And then next year, he came out for the Yankees, 91, right?
Yeah, 92 was my first year. So. Okay. Yeah, it was kind of the tail end of the Mattingly era.
About Steve Howe?
Sorry?
You have no good stories about Steve Howe?
Steve Howe?
Yeah.
I know they're out there, but I wasn't his running mate in those days. I was 16 years old.
What are you looking for anyway, bro?
He has a million good stories.
Looking for a get-high partner or something.
I want to know about Steve Howe.
Well,
he was a good dude in my experience.
And he later became the guitarist for Yes, I think, too. Steve Howe. He was a double threat.
Wow. No. Hey, listen, thanks for the call, man. We're gonna keep it moving.
Thanks, Sean.
Listen, so yeah, I mean, there's got to be a million little things like that people looking for, dirt on the fingernails and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean.
Yeah, people have asked, I mean, again, even at the time, I don't blame you guys for asking who were the jerks or whatever, but if you put yourself in my shoes at that time,
no, of course.
It's 80% of the guys were indifferent, which how can you blame them?
You're invisible.
Yeah. And 20. There were some guys. It was a bummer. They never learned your first name. 2 years in, you're like, hey, bat boy, get me this or that. But then there was the 20% who. It doesn't take that much.
I mean, you already hit the trifecta though with the Don Mattingly. I mean, once you got that, I would have just been like, I'm going to go home.
But that's his gift. That's his
why he really was the
personality.
captain and a leader.
The
thing I loved about your book was after the strike, him and Jim Abbott were one of the only two guys that at the end of the season is supposed to give you guys tips that looked up your address and still sent you a big tip.
It was my brother. It was the strike year. He took over for me, but it's true. I mean, most of the money we would make was tips at the end of the year, kind of for working hard all year. And the strike year, everybody thought that the season wasn't going to end. They ended up canceling the World Series. But yeah, Mattingly and Abbott sent my brother a check in the mail. And they did that. Yeah. They called the front office and, hey, I need the addresses for the Bat Boys. It's so easy to not think to do that. Most of the guys didn't think to do that. But it's just a window into their personalities.
You got a nickname, didn't you?
That was from Abbott.
Yeah, how did that come about?
The nickname was Spider from the Michael Imperioli character.
Another Goodfellas
in
reference.
Goodfellas. And it was Abbott, who, again, he was just a real genuine guy, really nice guy. I could joke with him. And he asked me to get him a cup of Gatorade in the dugout one game. And he wasn't pitching. He was just, again, he's a starting pitcher. He's sitting there talking and, fun to talk to the pitchers because they don't have anything to do but talk on the days they're not.
And they got to get uniformed up regardless if they're
starting, and they might be charting fly balls and, paying attention to what's happening, but a good sense of humor, all the pitchers, because there's just so much sitting around. So he told me to get some Gatorade. I said, that's not part of my job description. And he said, if you don't get me the Gatorade, I'm going to do you like Joe Pesci did Spider. And then, overnight,
that's it, you're Spider.
Stuck. Yeah, and there's a lot of people at the stadium who never...
They didn't know you, but
Matt,
Spider.
Who's Matt?
Yeah, that's Spider. Of course.
Get me a cutty and water.
We're going to call you Spider from now on. Let me ask you this, and the reason why I brought it up originally, because I read in the book about meeting Mickey Mantle on Old Timers Day, and I'm like, my profile picture was Mickey Mantle. I've got 10 pictures in my thing. As an icon, he's there he is. I mean, as an icon, he's like the Yankee great. To me, he's almost like a godlike figure.
He is a
Yankee
Yankee great.
Never heard, he is a Yankee great, 100%. But what I'm saying is, and visually, when you see him, it looks like it could be a religious figure. It's and then I've heard nothing but bad stories. And I'm telling you from people who looked up to him the whole life and met him and just got like chewed out or sent
Yeah.
packing or told to pound sand or really like vulgar stuff comes out of his mouth. And the guy that we gave a shout out to, Jerry Harrington, who's no longer with us, is like a Yankee diehard. He had a really nice collection of stuff, and he had some of the balls that he had signed, some of those vulgar balls. I know you know about those. And, he would sign like, Merry Christmas, have a ball, you know what I mean? And I'm doing that for your kids, not mine.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, a Yankee
And
great
Slim Jim
writing that
story?
kind of. Yeah, well, I don't want to. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. I was trying not to put that out there, but yeah, you put that out there. Go ahead. I mean, it's between it's
no,
an
it's
A and
just-
B,
yeah.
so you see way out of that one, buddy.
But
yeah, we
he's
just have
like-
friends that just that grew up loving him and then met him, and they came on like solid ground. They were stars themselves, and were just
Yeah, it's sad. It's
treated
sad when that
as an
happens.
alcoholic,
It's like the opposite of the experience I had with Mattingly or Abbott or these guys who.
But you
they
had the same
fulfilled my
experience with
expectations.
Mickey Mantle as well.
But I wouldn't say it was negative, and I was bugging him for an autograph. I mean, putting
What
myself
did he tell
in
you
his
to do?
shoes.
Tell you to kick rocks?
I like how you ask better.
I mean, you're being a diplomat
Very
right now.
persistent. Very
You're a
persistent.
schemer, very persistent.
Well, you
What
learn tricks of
happened?
the trade, and Old Timers Day was a special day. Opening day and Old Timers Day were the two best days of the year.
Who's the greatest Yankee you ever met?
Mattingly.
Cap, yeah.
Yeah.
Good answer.
But
And
Old
plus,
Timers
those
Day
tickets,
too.
they don't grow on trees,
But,
so I mean, you still
DiMaggio
No.
never. He
No.
wouldn't dress for the All-Star game. I mean,
Always
Well, that's when we saw the thing even in '77. He come out in the suit,
Yeah.
sit up in the press box,
and he
with,
wouldn't come down to the clubhouse and mix
until it was last.
But like Mantle, first two guys in the clubhouse were Hank Bauer and Moose Scourin.
Yeah.
And came in
Yeah.
together like 7:00 in the morning. So like Bat Boys are still sleeping in the players' lounge, and it's like, get up, Moose Scourin and Hank Bauer are here, and every old timer gets assigned to a locker of a current player. So there's a lot of people in there, and Clete Boyer was the Yankees' third base coach, and he was the third baseman for the '61 Yankees. So a teammate of Mantle and Ford, and so when those guys came in, they kind of peeled off and went into the coach's room. And would hang out in there kind of with the door closed and
knock back a few maybe.
Yeah, and then it's just all the different generations of the players. It's like a mix. So you had like the real old timers, guys from the 40s and the 50s,
Right.
and then you had the guys from the 70s, Catfish Hunter and Mickey Rivers, and then mixing with all the current players. So just seeing those were special days.
Nice. We got to go to commercial break. I'm going to play that no thing. We're going to talk about the MLB and how they don't always show you everything that occurred in baseball. We're going to talk about the network finally. I got to talk about that. I got my money ready. I'm ready to join in, and we'll be right back, y'all.
You know that we
There it is.
So you did get your autograph.
I got the autograph and a tongue lashing, but
It was
and
well
the
worth
story.
it.
And
Yeah,
the story.
see, one for the books.
And I don't consider it a real negative Mickey Mantle story or experience.
No, but I
really,
compound your story with 20 others I've heard.
Of course,
And
and
I've
I've heard
also
some
seen
of
his
them, too.
documentary where kids would come up to him and say, I
Yeah.
was born with your name. I was the first one at that. And he's like, kid, you're the 10th I've met this week.
And he's
And
honest
insult
at the
them,
end
like-
of his life about,
He came around, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a personality, and people had expectations. So much was projected onto him for so many years. It can't be easy.
He's just a ball player.
Yeah.
He's not
Oh,
a- yeah.
stop. Yo, poor Mickey. I mean, come on, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an icon and he went anywhere. Listen, I know the other stories as well.
The autograph he signed, again, like they would have beers. I mean, it's like a reunion. It's
Yeah,
like
sure.
perfect autograph. I mean, like you have a couple
Not
beers
for
and you
nothing.
sign it. It's not like
Yeah, his was like
perfect.
You know who's got the best autograph ever? Mariano Rivera. If you've
I don't
ever
have
seen
any of
his,
those.
I got two, so that's what I'm
Good for
saying.
you, man.
And I got a Mickey comment. Listen,
Well,
I don't
speaking
want to
of
hold your
reunion-
friend up. I don't want to hold your friend up any longer. I got put the call through right now. Who do we have? We have Chris on the line from Staten Island.
Speaking of reunion,
You part of the network or no?
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, we're ponied up 1,500. Is that the buy-in or no?
That's it. I got my money. I'm waiting.
What square do I get though? Am I coming in junior exec or CEO or where am I at?
Yo, if we can get everyone on the show right now to get in, and even the sound guy in the back, we're all set.
We're set.
That's it. I got your money order.
For those who don't know and who haven't read the book, tell us what the network is, Chris, so we understand, because we've read the book and we were ready to sign up.
All right, so have you guys heard of Bernie Madoff?
Of course.
Yeah.
I think
Kind of like that.
Yeah.
But we weren't Madoff. We lost all our money, Chris and I.
Chris,
all our money.
let Chris tell it before you. Yeah, let's
So Chris was
hear
your
it.
childhood friend, though.
Chris was my high school friend and just kind of my running mate, a trusted friend through these years. And so, like, when I went down to spring training to drive one of the players' cars back to New York, Chris came with me. And the winter after my first year, when Chris and I, first year at the stadium, when Chris and I were seniors in high school, we heard about this business.
You heard about it, or
Yankee
you both?
Stadium.
Yeah.
And I won't mention names.
Let's be clear, yeah, because it's all of a sudden it's a we thing.
Fair enough.
When I read it, it was you heard about it. You ran to Staten Island to get, the other half.
I didn't have enough money to go in on it myself.
That's right.
And so, and Chris was the most
being
mature.
the good friend you are, Chris,
he was the most mature
you
guy.
You bought in.
Yeah.
That's where, Chris, you'll start telling the story. So what happens? He comes to you with this deal. It's a can't lose thing. It's a short thing.
It's a lock.
No, and it was, he got me on the phone and it was like, yo, is this like a secure line? He's like, I got to tell you something.
I was concerned his parents would pick up in the other room.
My basement nasty phone in the back room and like picked it up. Was like, Mom, hang up. And then it was like, what's going on? He was like, let me tell you about this thing called the network. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to the bank tomorrow. I'm going to trick my dad into giving me all the birthday money I've ever had. Let's do it.
But you were on the hook immediately. It piqued your interest as soon as that. It just sounded so official with the network, and it came out of Yankee Stadium. And
I had just heard about it the day before.
As far as I was concerned, we had $12,000 in our pockets.
So tell people at home how this works, Matt. How was it explained to you?
You're asking me the questions like I
you
dreamed
know
it
how
up.
Works. No, but
I heard about this thing at the stadium, and what I heard was I walked in on a conversation, and it was like, should we tell the kid? And as soon as you hear that, tell the kid what? What's going on?
Yep.
And, there was a meeting that was in the Bronx at a restaurant, back room of a restaurant, and it was these guys. One of them was NYPD, and he said, as NYPD, you may be thinking this is a pyramid scheme. I would never be involved in that kind of a thing. This is a business opportunity and friends helping friends.
Wow.
And I went home and called Chris because he was the one who I could trust to keep a secret.
That's right.
Sharon's caring.
We jumped immediately to how are we going to spend the money.
$12,000 is a lot of coke when you're 16 years old.
That's a lot of CDs.
How much did you have to put in?
My calling question was, if we had actually got the money, what the hell would we have done with that?
Not saved it.
The Poconos, baby.
Yeah.
AC. So he said
it was a misadventure, and it lasted that whole winter, and
you guys kept going
we got
back.
out cheap. I mean, really.
For people at home, just so I like I said, so the first meeting was very exciting. There was lots of people from
very
the Yankees,
convincing.
very
well,
convincing.
I don't want to say it was a lot of people from the Yankees, but there were.
It seemed like there were people.
All walks of life.
All walks of life, and again, these things go around. And at the time period that it was, we weren't any wiser. And it's great if you get in early, and if you don't.
So did anybody get paid off of this? Or some of the early people got in?
That's
how
what we
pyramid
saw
works,
at the first
right.
meeting. Yeah.
Oh yeah, man.
That's how it works.
That first meeting, someone walked out $12,000.
Yeah.
The envelopes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I thought about this.
Oh, yeah.
What went wrong was when you split off into different groups because there weren't enough people.
Yeah, and then the blame game starts, and it's like you need to bring people in, and again, these things always collapse. And
you were 17 at the time. Who are you going to bring in?
You know what, though?
That's what we were saying, but that no one wanted to hear that.
Chris, go ahead.
I would not trade the ridiculous car rides and scheming to get to these meetings. Like two kids in some sketchy backroom bar talking about, how are we going to get the next level to move
Playing
up.
grown-ups.
And you were probably the only kids
going
there.
Home
we were
like
definitely
we were, going to Vegas the next day. That was some good stuff.
Plus, now you can hold it over his head till the end of time.
And have you paid?
Yeah.
We're on an installment plan.
That's what I heard. One beer at a time.
Yeah.
One drink at a time.
Yeah.
That's so good. That's a lifelong
Chris
plan. You guys are buddies. So
he got married last year, and the money that Chris put into it was like his child, like his, he
I know,
had
I
his
read
first
the book. That
communion,
was his
and
whole-
his aunt would give him
Your
$10
nest
in a
egg.
card, and
$1,500.
He told his dad, "I'm old enough to manage my own money now, Dad," and it's
It's time I have.
Yeah, and
had
then
it.
so I apologized to his parents at his wedding last year, publicly.
Oh well.
Yeah,
Chris.
Yeah.
Did you ever, when he was a bat boy, did you ever think about maybe going down there, getting a job yourself, taking over?
I had another connection to Madison Square Garden, where we got lots of
Rangers
lots
games,
of Knicks
a couple of Rangers
tickets
games.
and Rangers tickets. So we had a kind
You
of
guys had it on lock.
We had a sports hustle going on.
Good stuff. And did you guys go to the same school or?
Yeah, we were high school classmates,
Man,
and
that's
just
some school, huh?
Just running mates,
Nice.
And Chris is the one that you took Matt Noakes' car from Florida and drove all the way up to New York blasting Beastie
yeah,
Boys
my
songs,
parents.
right?
Yeah. So the guys will drive down to spring training from wherever they live, but when spring training's over, I mean, it's probably going on right now at big league camps all over Arizona and Florida. Like, they play their last spring training game today or yesterday, and they open in whatever city, and they got to get their cars and stuff from
Back home.
Florida back to
Wherever
whatever
they're
the
at.
city is.
Right.
So some years they would rent tractor trailers and load up the cars, but there's always guys who don't get in on that quick enough. And so I got the call my second year, hey, Matt Noakes has this car that he needs to be driven from Fort Lauderdale, where they had camp at the time, back to New York. And I said, great, I'm in. And told my parents, and they're like, you just got your license. Like, there's no possible way. And so I ended up working it out that, well, we can visit colleges, Chris and I, if this is like, you don't have to take time off from work, and we can go down. And so Chris came along on that adventure, and we were picturing a real sporty car, but it wasn't. It was a Chevy Suburban.
Full of
his kids' toys.
Nice. You took a little detour to Daytona, right?
In the Chevy Suburban
Spring
with
break,
kids' toys, yeah.
with the system pumping.
The loud music and
That's
kids'
it.
toys.
License
in the
to ill,
back.
right?
Yeah.
Nice, good stuff. It was still popping too. Then.
Yeah.
I just got a text from our boy Mona, who's a retired NYPD. He said he made $12,000 off the network in
Yeah.
'92. No kidding.
Yeah.
You did, really?
I swear to God. So maybe that was the guy at the restaurant you first met. Mona, yeah, you got paid at the network. No bullshit, he says.
We'll compare notes. I believe it.
Yeah.
I'll put him in touch with Chris.
Man,
gotta
you
get on
missed
the
it
installment plan with
Yeah,
him.
you missed it by that much, man. Well, Chris, good talking. Do you have anything else you want to add, or?
No, I'm all set. That was great. Yeah, Matt, my son's network fund is starting right about now. So any contributions are welcome.
Nice. Chris, take care, man. Great talking to you, my friend.
Appreciate the call.
Later, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.
Man, see, that's great. So that story paid itself already back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And $1 at a time, one tail at a time. You know, it's
Yeah.
one of those. You have a lot of those. You know.
Oh yeah.
You have enough to make a book, my friend.
It was a learning, you know.
Fantastic, man. What? So what? Oh, it's like that. We're going right to commercial. I was gonna show. Do you want to come back? Can we talk about that?
This song is just, come on.
That's
it
the
just
winning.
brings you back.
You don't
It's-
know that, right?
I read the book.
But you know what the song means when you hear it at the Yankee
It
Stadium?
means they won the game.
Yeah.
It's like Randy
Yeah.
Newman. And,
Yeah.
I
you
love
know,
LA. That's a good one.
Yeah.
All right.
Old Frank.
We'll be right back, y'all.
I want to be a part of it.
Fantasy play-by-play. And now, the best announcer in the world calls the greatest moment in Yankees history.
Okay, bottom of the ninth. Here's a ground ball. Second. Toss over to Madison.
He's gone.
Lofton's gone.
Should have stuck to basketball.
What?
We played basketball in college.
Abbott so far today. 2 2 strikeouts, no hits, no earned runs.
Over 27,000 here today.
The crowd of 27,225 getting ready to explode as Abbott May pitched his first no-hitter. This would be the first time a Yankee pitched no-hitter since Rigetti back in 84, or 83, excuse me.
Velarde and James have RBIs today for the Yankees.
4-0 Yankees over Cleveland. Here's the pitch.
Fouled off.
Foul ball.
So
That's it.
The moral of that story is he pitched the no-hitter. We just pulled that clip up, so I don't know who's talking.
Yeah,
it's a bootleg
clip. Yeah, it's a bootleg announcers.
And I forgot. So he didn't. One hand he had missing.
Yeah, he was born.
Tell us about that, because
yeah,
I mean, I completely when I read your book, I don't even know if there was a mention of that or not, but I completely it was.
Yeah, he came the second season I was there in '93, so I think he was with the Angels prior to that.
Yeah.
And I had heard of him, but is an incredible guy, but incredibly gifted. And yeah, he was born. His arm ended above the wrist.
Right.
And he was able to pitch and move the glove onto his hand to be ready to catch it. And it was just, again, like I had heroes as a kid, or everybody has heroes, but seeing him and then getting to know him was just on another level. So it was just that one year that I had when he was on the team, but he gave me the nickname that everyone adopted.
Yeah.
And
he threw a no-hitter.
He threw a no-hitter, which I wasn't there that day.
I read that.
It was
your brother?
My brother. It was his first game. And I had left.
Isn't that how it works?
I had left for college that morning.
I heard,
And I called the stadium the next day and asked for my brother. And then when he got on the phone, I said, "Put Jimmy on the phone." And Abbott came and he said, if I'd known what was holding me back all this time, I would have sent you to college a long time ago.
So he had a good
Gotta
sense
love
of
him.
humor.
Yeah.
Good.
Now, speaking of college, tell us about the boss and how he played a role into college.
Yeah, so Steinbrenner, like I said at the beginning of the show, he was like an ogre in the public mind of fans for like my whole childhood.
And Yankees fans especially.
Yankees fans, yeah. I mean, he was an antagonist to Winfield and even Mattingly, and his temper is famous, and that whole reputation, preceded him. Right. And the first year that I was hired, he was actually suspended from baseball. A longer story, but he came back in '93, and again, it's this big reputation. So it was a big deal when he would be at the stadium. We would say Elvis is in the house. That was the code, and it was like everybody jumped to it.
Walking on eggshells.
All hands on
yeah,
deck.
because you just don't know. It was like it wasn't unreasonable to believe that he could fire you if
just for
you made a wrong step, because he had done it.
Which was great in the book. You said your friend was lounging on the thing watching the game when he came in, and he's like, "Oh, can I get you anything?"
He said to the other bat boy, "Yeah, can I get you anything?" And it was terrifying. And the other kid said, he said, "Hiya, George," which again, I was like not how I would have played it.
Right.
And he said, "Nah, I'm fine." And again, it's like I'm thinking this is going to end really poorly, but Steinbrenner just walked out.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
he probably liked his moxie. Yeah.
So I saw him from time to time, but I applied to colleges, and one of the schools I got into was Williams College, which I didn't know at that point, but that's where Steinbrenner went to college 30 or 40 years before. It's a school in Massachusetts, and so my parents didn't think they could afford it. It was an expensive school, and somebody at the stadium said, "You should write to the boss and see if he'll help you with lab fees or something like that." And I wrote him a letter, and he ended up giving me a scholarship, almost half tuition, for my first 2 years of college.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I only met him one time, like after I got the scholarship, he was in the clubhouse, and it took courage to step in his path. He would come in, and he would go to the different lockers, talking to the different players for a minute, and I know giving them some kind of football like pep talk.
Right.
And So it's kind of like you wouldn't want to get in his way, you know. You
interrupt his flow.
Yeah, you're too
it's a
busy.
General Patton.
Yeah. But I kind of like stepped in front of him and said, Mr. Steinbrenner, I'm the bat boy you gave the scholarship to college. I just wanted to say thank you. He said I could never get in there today, which is probably true of I could never get into the school now today, but he slapped me on the back and moved on, and that was it. You know, that's like the only time I interacted with him personally. But he was, you know, there's so many stories that don't come out about his generosity. Yeah. So much of it was anonymous.
I love the one with the kid doing graffiti on the stadium, you know?
Yeah,
Typical
you know
Bronx.
About that one?
Yeah, I mean, there's bat boys. Again, everybody has their own lucky break, but yeah, I mean, he would.
What's his name again? Do you remember off the top?
Ray Negron.
Ray Negron.
Yeah, and he still works for the team. He's like an advisor for the Yankees.
He was writing graffiti on the stadium, and Steinbrenner caught him and pulled him in and put him in. There's a jail or holding area for.
Yeah,
he said you're going to work it off.
Oh.
And he made him a bat boy on the team, and then Reggie kind of not adopted literally, but like the same way that Mattingly and Abbott were, you know, made me feel you're my guy.
And now he's still with he's executive
with
the Yankees, still doing.
What a great story.
Yeah,
crazy.
So you worked all the old stadium, obviously. What do you think of the new stadium?
I went to one game there. It's not the same, you know. I mean, I miss the old stadium. It's still incredible to me that it's not there anymore. I mean, I know that's how people feel about Ebbets Field or the Polo Grounds or, you know, any stadium, but it just, you know, it was a special place.
See, for me,
didn't have the.
It's not corporate.
It's not corporate. Exactly. I mean, it's like
we went to games together, and I went to the last game at Yankee Stadium, or the last series of games that year when they weren't going to the playoffs with the Rays, and I went to the All-Star game there. But prior to that, I was a lifelong Yankee fan who'd never been in the stadium.
Yeah.
I didn't have a dad. I didn't have any of that. So it was and when they were going to take it down, I'm like, this is it. If it don't happen now, it's never going to happen. And I flew out and we went, and then I went to the All-Star game first. It was my first game ever at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
And then I went to the last series, like I said, of like one of the 3 games.
Yeah.
It was lackluster, and then it was the opening day the next year.
Yeah.
At the new stadium, but just the little experience that I had from one to the other, and then coming back the next year, you know, and then
it's
being
like the
gone.
Las Vegas version of the old stadium, and
Perfect.
Times Square.
There's
the 40 deuce.
Again, there's more comforts than
of course,
but
more amenities. But
you didn't go to the old place for comfort.
No, it seems
it was the Bronx Zoo
and amenities. Yeah, it's just the history.
What I do like, I mean, the field now that's there in its place, it's an open ballpark.
I saw that.
And second base is where the home plate would have been, so now anybody can go.
Yeah,
Babe Ruth stood, where Gehrig stood, where Mantle stood, where Jeter stood, where Mattingly stood.
It's better they preserve
and
that.
I'm gonna take my piece of my friend's ashes, the guy that we dedicated to Jerry Harrington, and put it there one of these days. You know, I just got to go pick those up. But it's pretty nice that it's sacred ground, that they didn't build a parking lot over it.
So many other stadiums, you know, Polo Grounds and Ebbets Field. It's like just a plaque on the sidewalk
and behind a bush.
Yeah.
Now the Ebbets Field one, you have to go like look behind a bush, and it's on there. It's like nobody cares. It's crazy, and I know, you know, I'm only known from, you know, watching, you know, the baseball. What's the famous, oh God,
Ken Burns.
Ken Burns.
Yeah,
I mean that's the classic right there.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, come on, it's like Jackie Robinson and Don Newcomb and guys like that.
Campanella.
Yeah,
just,
I mean,
there's so much history.
It's history.
In that place.
It's like, you know.
Well, that's, I mean, that, you know.
Well, we have that luxury of now of you know, going to games at Dodger Stadium, which is the third oldest stadium. So it still kind of has that old school feel. I mean, we're not Dodger fans.
No, but we go to a few games. Fast forward too, I seen you in photos in the full regalia. You got your Dodger blue under there, so it's not sacrilege to, you know, you live in L.A., you like baseball.
I have heard it from friends, the Trader, the you know, but
I think it's more for your boys though, the Twins, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
and I have. The music just makes me a Yankee fan again.
Well,
but you know, yeah, my kids were here in LA. They're gravitate to the Dodgers. That's the team they see. So you know, they'll grow up. They'll hear Yankee stories and they'll make their own decision.
Nice. Well, that's about all the time we have, man. Like I said, it was a pleasure, man.
It was a pleasure for me.
So good to meet
Thank
you.
you,
and
guys.
we'll have to have you back when you have the next book.
Thanks.
On a
Are you working on another book?
I'm working on a new book.
Totally different angle, but
Different
equally as great.
Anything you want to plug? I mean, when should we
Another
expect it?
storied institution. It's a LAPD story. So stay tuned.
That's going to rock world.
Shout out to the kids.
Yeah, Hudson and Declan, and my friend Mary in Missouri, if she's listening, and Kathy. Congratulations on the new job. My beautiful wife.
Real quick before we go, 2014 prediction for the Yankees. Do we take the
First
World
place.
Series?
CC's coming back.
There it
CC's
is.
coming back, and Tanaka's gonna do all right.
Shut him down. Thanks,
You heard it.
New York
Matt
Yankees, Delta Bravo. My man Matt.
Good night. See you tomorrow. Bad News
See you
Bears
next
is
week.
in.
Thanks, Matt.